Peru's Congress has elected Francisco Sagasti as the country's new interim president in the midst of the ongoing political and institutional crisis. Hurricane Iota strengthened to Category 5 and is set to slam into Central America this Monday as the Atlantic's strongest storm of the year. African leaders are attempting to kickstart mediation talks in Ethiopia's escalating internal conflict. From the headquarters of teleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South, and I'm Katrina Goss. And we begin in Peru, where Congress has elected Francisco Sagasti as the country's new interim president in the midst of the ongoing political and institutional crisis. Sagasti secured a majority with 69 votes in his favour to become the replacement for Manuel Merino, who was installed as president following the ousting of Martin Vizcarra. Merino's appointment sparked widespread protests as Peruvians expressed their frustration at the pervasive corruption of the country's political elite. Also elected alongside Sagasti to the board of directors of the Congress are Mirta Vázquez of the Board Front, Matilde Fernandez of the We Are Peru party, and as first, second and third vice presidents respectively. Brazil's municipal elections held on Sunday marked a clear setback for current far-right President Jair Bolsonaro. In the major cities of the country, the candidates supported by the current president were relegated to positions far behind the winners at the polls. The race brought together nearly 150 million voters to elect local authorities in the more than 5,500 municipalities of Brazil. No major problems occurred during the day except for delays in the publication of the vote count due to technical problems. The elections were held under strong health measures and saw an increase in abstentions compared to the 2016 elections. And we continue in Brazil, as in the local elections held this Sunday, indigenous chief Marquinhos Xukuru was elected mayor in the municipality of Pesquera in the state of Pernambuco to become the first indigenous leader to assume the post. Xukuru, an indigenous leader of the 24 villages in Pernambuco, will be the municipal representative of more than 65,000 inhabitants, of which over 10,000 are indigenous peoples. As a teenager, he was elected chief of his village after the murder of his father. Although he is affiliated with a right-wing party, he formed a coalition with left-wing parties, such as the Liberal Party, the Workers' Party and the Brazilian Labour Party, to carry out his fight to represent the territories and dignity of the communities he embodies.
If the Brazilian state doesn't know how to govern, we know how to govern. And I say to the people to move forward, to move forward, to move forward.
Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley, presided an event this Monday afternoon to remove the statue of Lord Nelson, located in National Heroes Square in the capital Bridgetown, to coincide with the International Day of Tolerance as designated by the United Nations 50 years ago. The move comes following a campaign by the Caribbean Movement for Peace and Integration and the Pan-African Coalition of Organisations, as well as several Black Lives Matter protests. Activists have called for the day to be recognised as a day of black resistance against all forms of exploitation. The statue is seen as a symbol of oppression and the country's colonial past, as Vice Admiral Horatio Nelson, officer of the British Navy, was against the abolition of slavery, and his statue was erected on the basis of a lie that he saved Barbados from the French. The more than 200-year-old structure is to be transported to a temporary storage site before being returned to public display at the Barbados Museum and Historical Society. One suggestion is to replace it with a statue of Nanny Grigg, a slave who helped plan the Bussers Rebellion, the largest slave revolt in Barbadian history in 1816. Havana's Jose Marti International Airport has reopened after almost 8 months of closure due to the COVID-19 pandemic and is implementing strict protocols, which include an obligatory COVID-19 test on arrival.
I feel very safe. Here there has been a very good treatment, very affordable and very fast at the same time. It is not that the COVID-19 test is charged. The implementation of a health tax is allowed by the international health regulations, and it is for everyone who arrived from abroad.
Hurricane Iota has strengthened to Category 5 and is set to slam into Central America this Monday as the Atlantic's strongest storm of the year. According to the National Hurricane Center in Miami, Iota was expected to make landfall by Monday night, bringing catastrophic winds, life-threatening storm surge and torrential rainfall. The region is still recovering from Hurricane Eta less than 2 weeks ago. According to the Hurricane Center's 1 p.m. advisory, the storm was about 80 miles southeast of Cabo Gracias a Dios, on the border of Nicaragua and Honduras, with maximum sustained winds of 160 miles per hour. The center said that the storm was moving west at 9 miles per hour and that this general motion is forecast throughout landfall. Iota is forecast to bring heavy rains that could cause deadly floods and landslides in Honduras and Nicaragua. The Barbados Met Service issued a flash flood watch for the Caribbean country earlier this Monday. According to the Met Office, the watch is in effect due to a deep layered trough affecting the island, which is expected to generate moderate to heavy showers with maximum rainfall accumulations of 15 to 30 millimetres. A flash flood watch is issued when heavy or excessive rainfall in a short period of time, generally less than 6 hours, could result in flash flooding within the watch area. And in Costa Rica, the National Met Institute has recommended taking urgent and necessary precautions due to soil saturation stemming from the heavy rains that could result from Hurricane Iota. Downpours are expected in the Central and South Pacific region, while forecasts are for heavy isolated showers and frequent lightning in northern areas and the mountains close to the Caribbean Sea, as well as the Central Valley. US President-elect Joe Biden spoke to business and labor leaders during a virtual meeting as he detailed his economic plan during a speech in Wilmington, Delaware. Biden stressed he was not anti-business, but would ensure that rich Americans and major companies pay their fair share in taxes. After meeting with labor and corporate leaders, Biden said they agreed on the need for additional stimulus, which must come quickly. He said that a new stimulus plan is critical to help the economy amid an upsurge in COVID-19 cases, while noting things were due to get tougher. The president-elect also claimed his economic plan will create 3 million good-paying union jobs and raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour.
Corporate America agreed on this today, the folks on the call. We need support to support small businesses and entrepreneurs that are the backbone of our communities, but are teetering on the edge. And we all agreed on the urgent need for funding for states and localities to keep frontline workers and essential workers on the job.
The Director General of the World Health Organization this Monday held news on the progress of COVID-19 vaccines as encouraging, but voiced serious concerns about surging cases in many countries and insisted that complacency was not an option.
This is not the time for complacency. While we continue to receive encouraging news about COVID-19 vaccines and remain cautiously optimistic about the potential for new tools to start to arrive in the coming months, right now, we're extremely concerned by the surging cases we're seeing in some countries, particularly in Europe and the Americas.
Sweden's Prime Minister Stefan Löfven announced a ban on gatherings of more than 8 people for the first time on Monday amid a strong surge in cases. The new measure will come into effect on November 24th. The ban only applies to public gatherings such as sporting and cultural events, as the government does not have the authority to ban private gatherings in homes. Schools and restaurants will stay open. Löfven called on Swedes to do their duty and take responsibility in slowing the spread of the virus. Sweden has so far reported more than 177,000 COVID-19 cases and over 6,100 deaths. China strongly criticised the recent remarks made by Canada's ambassador to the United Nations this Monday.
Canada's population growth rate in 2019 was 1.42%, and most of the increase came from immigrants. I would also like to share with you some more figures. From 2010 to 2019, the population of the Uyghurs in the Xinjiang Autonomous Region rose from 10.17 million to 12.72 million, an increase of 2.55 million or 25%, which is about twice the increase of the whole Xinjiang population, that stood at 14%. The growth rate was also significantly higher than the 2% of the Han population. I just told you the growth rate of the Canadian population. The growth rate of the Uyghur population is 18 times that of Canada's. I would like to tell the Canadian ambassador to the UN if your logic is plausible in finding out who best fits the label of genocide. It seems that it is not the Uyghurs who are the victims of genocide, but rather the people of Canada. A piece of advice for you: do some homework before expressing your presence at the site, so as not to make a fool of yourself.
African leaders attempted on Monday to kickstart mediation talks in Ethiopia's escalating internal conflict, 2 days after rocket strikes on Eritrea's capital highlighted the risks that the fighting could spread. Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni held talks with Ethiopia's Deputy Prime Minister Demeke Mekonnen, while former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo headed to Addis Ababa to make his bid for dialogue. Hundreds of people are reported to have been killed so far in the conflict in Africa's second most populous country. More than 25,000 Ethiopians have fled into neighbouring Sudan.
What the Ethiopian people and Ethiopia's allies expect from us is to restore peace in the country in a short period of time by destroying the terrorists as per the orders we received from above.
Our correspondent, Sergio Rodriguez, brings us an update on the latest events of the armed conflict between the Sahrawi People's Liberation Army and the Moroccan Army in Western Sahara.
Hello and greetings to the audience of teleSUR. The hostilities in Western Sahara continue. This is what the Polisario Front has communicated in a new world report on the situation at the Moroccan Wall right now, known as the Wall of Shame, that separates the territory of Western Sahara, the territories occupied by Morocco, and also the territories liberated by the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic. Today, we were informed that Morocco finally acknowledged the confrontations. The official news agency of Morocco made it public. It offered a statement in Spanish recognizing the confrontations between the authorities, in this case the Sahrawi People's Liberation Army and the Royal Moroccan Army. Meanwhile, movements that defend human rights in Western Sahara have denounced the persecution and arrest of numerous young people in the occupied territories, mainly in the capital of Western Sahara, Layun, where these groups have sent several images showing the strong police deployment and the arrest of numerous activists in the context of the return to the arms of the Polisario Front and the Sahrawis. In recent hours, many Sahrawis have joined the Polisario Front to go to the battlefield. For the moment, confrontations continue between the two sides. In regards to the international community, the European Union has also offered a statement after a meeting between the foreign ministries of both Morocco and Algeria, which called to find an urgent solution to this conflict. The United Nations has also called for an end to the conflict and for dialogue to find a solution to the escalated violence and, above all, the interruption of the ceasefire in Western Sahara.
Thank you, Sergio. And moving on to Palestine, where Prime Minister Mohammed Shtayyeh warned Monday of unprecedented and dangerous developments in the Israeli colonial project, as President Donald Trump prepares to leave the White House.
The cabinet warns of unprecedented dangerous developments in the Israeli colonial project in what appears to be an escalating and intense attack plan for the next 10 weeks in a competition against time to impose a new fait accompli before Trump leaves the White House. We consider the visit of the U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to the settlement of Sagasti, which is built on the lands of the city of Al-Bireh and confiscated from its Palestinian owners, as a further violation of the rights of the Palestinian people, and we make sure that it will not give any legitimacy to the Zionist colonies. We are looking cautiously at the media reports about the visit of some settlers to some Arab countries in search of markets and investment, and we ask the Arab League to follow this matter and do what must be done.
The Libyan political dialogue, underway since last Monday and under the auspices of the United Nations in order to designate a unified executive authority and try to end a decade of conflict, ended without agreement on the names of the leaders of the future executive.
Consensus on a roadmap towards elections with a clear date of the 24th of December 2021, which is Libya's Independence Day, as you know. I'm very pleased with the outcome of these discussions, and I truly thank the participants. They came together and they displayed a very strong national spirit. As I said in my closing remarks tonight to them, 10 years of conflict cannot be resolved in 1 week.
And we've come to the end of this news brief, but remember you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and Telegram. For teleSUR English, I'm Katrina Goss, and thank you for watching.